Well, if you're here, then I am guessing that you, like me, clicked on K-pop Demon Hunters thinking it would be a silly Netflix throwaway, and now it has a chokehold on your life. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did, so obviously I had to make a Huntrix mug. For the inside of the indent, I decided to do this purple to pink gradient because I feel like those were kind of the overarching colors. And then I just did these little cylinders of clay that will be the stands or the platforms that the idols stand on. For those of you that have been part of the Clay by Dallin crowd for a while, you're probably aware that I normally do animals on my mugs, but I have slowly been practicing my figure sculpting more and more, and that definitely helped out on this mug. The biggest problem I run into when I'm sculpting is that I have giant sausage fingers, and if I'm wanting to sculpt figures into my mug indents, then I have to sculpt way smaller than you learn in traditional sculpting classes, but I found a few things that kind of help with that problem. The first is that I taught myself how to 3D model on the computer, and I've made my own little basic silicone molds for different like delicate body parts, and then I can just attach them together and pose them and finish out the sculpting of the clothing and things like that. The molds aren't just totally foolproof though. You'll see here, this is my first attempt and my second attempt at the characters. So there's definitely still a learning curve, and I'm still right in the middle of this learning curve. Honestly, I broke every single one of these characters like 4 times. When working with water-based clay like this, ceramic clay, it dries out really quickly, especially at this scale, and that makes it really fragile. So you'll notice that I've got some wire that is stuck into each of the figures. The wire is a high temperature nichrome wire, so it can be fired in the kiln along with everything else, but it gives me something to hold on to, and that way I'm not handling the clay. It doesn't just like disintegrate in my hands as I touch it, and it also makes it easier to mount the characters into their settings later on. Right now, because these figures are so small, I don't even worry about painting faces on them. The brushes that you see me using in this video are the smallest and finest that I own, so I don't even know if it's possible to paint the faces onto these guys. But recently I saw a video and it reminded me of the artists that paint on grains of rice. And so now I'm kind of tempted to try and get myself a pair of those fancy like magnifying glasses headsets, and go full micro detail mode and see if I can't teach myself to paint, really fine detail like faces onto these figures. Could it be fun? Possibly. Could it also be a nightmare? Also very possible, very possible. As I was placing Zoey and Mira into the indent on the mug, I realized I had totally forgotten to give Rumi her demon markings that show up on her arms and neck a little bit. So I finished those details really quick, and then using a pair of tweezers, I used the wire to mount each of the characters into their setting, like I kind of talked about before. Now all that is left are the firings. I think I'm going to glaze it in a dark blue and then do a gold luster Honmoon line pattern around the outside. So follow along if you want to see it finished.